1. Testing. 1, 2. 1, 2. Dave.
That was Super Sounds of the 70s, and this is Games Master, You're Going Down.
So welcome back once again to another world's first WhatGear podcast, and today is the world's first UFC podcast number 4. And I'm joined by AV Dave out in Cambridge.
Hello.
They call me the Games Master, and I'm here in London. And today we're basically just going to be talking about the upcoming UFC Fight Night. If you guys didn't know, we were actually at the UFC Fight Night in London. It was pretty awesome. We did a bunch of content. There's even a section on the website which is exclusively about that event. What do you think of that event, Dave?
Off the hook, mate. Off the chart, off the scale, broke the needle.
Yeah. And if you guys want to know a bit more about how we felt about that event and being there and seeing all the fights, listen to the previous UFC podcast from WhatGear. You can get us on iTunes. You can check out the website, also on YouTube as well. But I tell you what, I'd really appreciate some comments and some ratings on iTunes. So if you guys have the time, go check it out. But anyway, let's move on. This new event coming up this weekend, right?
This weekend, this Saturday night.
Yeah, so it's UFC Fight Night Brisbane. I think it's UFC Fight Night 85, which is being headlined by Mark Hunt and Frank Mir. So 2 heavyweight fighters. For those of you that don't know who these guys are, Mark Hunt is a really, really tough guy. He's fairly short for a heavyweight, really, really wide, very, very strong, and really known for devastating KOs. He likes to just punch people, knock them out, and just walk away before they've even hit the ground. I know Dave has been doing a bit of research on Fight Pass.
Yes.
If you guys don't know what Fight Pass is, it's basically like Netflix for fighting. But Dave, what did you think about Mark Hunt and some of his previous fights?
Yeah, I watched his last fight, which was last year against Bigfoot. Which is, for those that don't know, he's this massive Brazilian dude. He looks like a Brazilian equivalent to Lurch out of the Adams family.
Yeah, he's got a massive head, isn't he?
Easy target, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't. The build up to the fight would look really exciting.
Yeah.
I haven't watched their previous encounter, but from the build up, it looked like a really good fight. So I was fingers crossed, really hopeful for a good fight on this one. But it was a little bit lackluster. I think Mark Hunt was just walking down Bigfoot, just looking for an opening, and he got it at one point in the fight.
Yeah.
I think it was the second round, and sparked him just over the ear or near the temple, and he went down.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a few
Snickers.
times. We've seen that a few times. You know, when you get hit behind the ear, apparently like it shakes up your equilibrium and you just lose balance. And we've seen that before. I think Brock Lesnar hit Randy Couture like that behind the ear, and literally it just throws your center of gravity off, and you lose sort of, your balance, and then that's it. If you can't stand up, you can't really fight. But yeah, the reason, that fight, the original, so that was the sequel fight for Mark Hunt against Bigfoot. The original fight was definitely one you should watch. So any of you guys out there, you want to see a really exciting heavyweight fight, watch that first, Mark Hunt versus Bigfoot. That was a great fight. The second time they fought, basically, they were both a bit more, they took so much punishment in their first fight that they were a bit more wary about, how this fight is going to go. And I think Mark Hunt played the smart game there. He knew where his strength was. He didn't rush in or he just waited for this right moment to strike, and he ended the fight decisively. And that's what you expect from a K1 fighter. This guy was a K1 champ outside of the UFC, which is kickboxing for you guys out there don't know. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Frank Mir, right? The main event. So Frank Mir, we spoke a bit about him last week, about how this guy is known for breaking bones. And I'm all about the special moves, right? I think every fighter should have a special move, a finishing move, right? So I came up with a good one for Frank Mir. Mere death destruction. No, that wasn't it. What was it? Mere
Well, near death experience.
mere death experience. Yeah, the mere death experience where he puts you in a hold, submission hold, and he nearly kills you. And he's broken a few bones in the past. But anyway, I know Dave has done a bit of research again on Fight Pass, going
Yes, I
back.
watched. So yeah, I watched a couple of his fights actually. I watched his fight from last year where he took on Andrei Oleski,
Orlovsky,
aka
Russian.
Orlovsky,
Yeah.
Orlovsky or Oleski,
Orlovsky. Yeah,
Orlovsky, aka the Pitbull.
yeah.
That was a bit of a slow fight, I thought. He went through thinking that he'd won it. I think his corner were convinced that he won it, but it went to decision, and
This is a close
I think it was like
decision.
30. No, it wasn't actually. It wasn't that close at all. It was like
No,
30-27 or something by two of the judges.
right.
Um,
For
anyway,
me,
no,
ah,
for Orlovsky,
for Orlovsky, so he lost. Oh,
he
right. I
lost.
must have
Yeah.
missed that fight. Oh,
Um,
man.
it
Oh, yeah,
wasn't.
unanimous.
Yeah, it wasn't a. It was a unanimous decision, but it wasn't. It wasn't as close as it was an okay fight anyway. But the fight that I was really interested to watch was Brock Lesnar
Yeah,
versus Mir.
yeah, yeah. So
That
Mir
was
being the first person to beat Lesnar in the UFC.
that's right. I mean, it was a while ago. It was 2009. So I
Yeah.
mean, he was a lot more of a spring chicken back then. By the looks of him in his last fight as well, it looks like he's eaten a lot of spring chickens since then.
He said he's looking a bit heavy.
In his last fight, he was very heavy. He was top end of heavyweight. It was like 265
65.
pounds or
Yeah,
something
I
like
think
that.
that's the limit. Yeah, 265.
He was 265 and he had a gut hanging over his shorts. Um,
You know
at
what I think he gets
one
away
point
with?
one point in the pitbull fight though, he was like he was on top of him. And it brought me back to that Christmas video. That video went viral at Christmas of the seal love. And that seal
Yeah.
jumping on top of the penguin.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's an old video. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I think one of the reasons why Frank Mir can get away with carrying a bit of extra weight is because his ground game is so good. That most people they don't try and take him down too much because they're worried about getting caught in something in a mere death experience. I think he's so good at catching people making mistakes, and he makes them pay for it, and sometimes at the cost of their bones being intact, or
Yeah.
bones being separated. But prior to that, a loss against Arlovsky, he actually had a couple of KOs. So he's showing that he can stand up. He's knocked out Todd Duffy, and he also knocked out, in common with his opponent this time around, Antonio Silva, Bigfoot
Mm.
Silva. So he's actually, both of these guys have knocked out Bigfoot Silva. So it's not to say that Frank Mir can't stand and fight. But anyway, let's do this week's fight predictions. I think we should roll a little bit of music here before we do the fight predictions. What do you think for this
Do it.
main event? Hit the music. So, okay, Dave, Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan versus Frank Mir with his Mir Death Experience finishing move. Who do you think is going to win?
Um, if it was an eating contest and it was like how many samosas they could eat, I'd say I'd put money on Mark Hunt.
The Super
Um,
Samoan.
Super Samoan, yeah,
Yeah.
Samoan samosas. Um, I don't know on this one. I really don't know. I kind of want to. I'm gonna say based on the most recent performance that I've seen of Mir, I'm gonna say Hunt.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, so my prediction here, right? This is how I see the fight playing out. I think Mir's going to be trying to get this to the ground. But the thing is, Hunt is he's a lot shorter and his base is so solid, his legs are so thick. It's really hard for people to take him down early on in the fight. And you saw how he fought Bigfoot, he's just kind of marching him down to the cage. I kind of see that happening here. The only defense Mir is going to have against Mark Hunt here is his knees, because he can lift those knees up pretty high. And if he can knee Mark Hunt in the face when he gets in close, he could do well. I mean, we've seen Frank Mir land some really good shots from the clinch, but I think Mark Hunt is going to land a big shot early on and put the lights out here early. That's my prediction. I don't know, but
So
there
you
is a.
think you think knockout in the first?
I think it's going to be an early KO. I do. I reckon. Got a
I don't
feeling. I just
know.
got a
I don't
feeling.
know. He did take so he took some good shots from Orlovsky.
Yeah, yeah. But
I
Mark Hunt
think
is on another level when it comes to knockout power.
this is going to be 5 rounds as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. See, this is the other. It could play out like this, right? It could play out that Frank Mir hangs in there until the later rounds, where Hunt gets a bit tired, and then maybe if Mir can get it to the ground, I reckon he could lock on the Mir death experience, and it could be over.
Mm.
It could be over
I
like that.
my gut is it's going to go all the way.
Five
Both of
rounds
these, both of
decision.
these guys, both of these, yeah, yeah. As much as I love a good finish, I think it's going to go to the cards on this one.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. I reckon this is going to end in a finish. I reckon most likely it's going to end early with a KO, Mark Hunt. So anyway, let's move on to the co-main event now, and let's just talk a little bit about these two fighters. So Hector Lombard, right? Probably one of the most menacing fighters in the UFC. He's a fan favorite out there in Australia. Before he was in the UFC, there was a lot of fans crying out for him to be signed. And he was signed, and he joined the UFC. I have to say, I haven't really seen any spectacular performances from him, but there have been some dominant performances from him. So he knocked out Nate Marquardt, who was a former contender back in the day. Nate Marquardt was, at one point he was top of the game, and he knocked him out. Jake Shields, he also beat unanimous decision. Jake Shields actually fought for the title against GSP, and he done really, really well. Jake Shields is really known for his jiu-jitsu. He's not really the best stand-up striker in the world, but Hector Lombard beat him convincingly. Now this is the interesting one, right? His last fight. I believe you watched this fight, didn't you, Dave? On Fight Pass.
Again, yeah, I watched this. I watched it last night. Again, yeah.
Yeah, Josh Berkman.
The beauty of Fight Pass, you can just completely binge watch as much fighting as you want.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
yeah, yeah. It's not bad. Do you know my only criticism is the timelines, man? Like you said, you had difficulty working out where
Yeah, it
if
would be
the
good if
timelines of the fighters are.
it would be good if the search results were a little bit better organized. I'd say.
Yeah,
That's the only thing. Yeah.
if it put them in order of first fight to most recent fight.
The other
Um,
way around in my book, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm kind of the opposite of you. I'm not actually that interested in going all the way back to day one. If I'm going to watch a fight, I want to see their most recent fight.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's
I
interesting
think
to see their first fights. I think
it kind
to
of
see
is,
where
but
they
it's kind
came
of
from and where they
interesting.
are.
But given that training changes the way it's supposed to change the way you fight, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Improve your strengths and weaknesses and all that business. But really, you're as good as your last fight. I think
yeah.
in this game. So
So let's talk about
uh,
that. The last
yeah,
fight, Josh Berkman.
last fight, yes.
How did you see it?
It was an okay fight actually. The build up was a bit sort of. I mean, but for those that don't know, Bertman was out of the
UFC.
UFC.
Yeah,
He left the UFC for quite a long time. It was like I think he was in like UFC 80 or something like that, or UFC 90, something like that. It was he's been out for a long time,
yeah,
in excess of 2,000 days
yeah.
without a fight, which in the fighting game is a long time.
Well, he
But
was fighting in other organizations, so he wasn't out of
oh
fighting. He
really?
was just out of the UFC, and he done really, really well in these other organizations. He was knocking people
Oh,
out. He
okay.
was beating big names, so they brought him back. He really
Um,
deserved to be back.
right. Okay. Well, they didn't mention that in the in sort of like the build up to the thing. It was like he'd fallen off the face of the planet
Well,
type
basically,
build
when you
up.
leave the UFC, that's how they see it. They'll never promote another
Another
organization.
yeah.
So,
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
so he gives it all the smack talk about how he's going to bring this level of martial arts that no one's ever seen him bring before, and this, that, and the other. And I was thinking, yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. I mean, the guy's 34 years old, so I was figuring, if he doesn't do well in this fight, then chances are he's not going to make a return again to the UFC octagon. But if in fairness, he started off the fight quite promisingly against Lombard.
He never
Stance. I
gave
mean,
up. He hung in
he,
there, didn't
he
he?
I don't know. He was playing some very dangerous games towards the end of the fight, though. He sort of just dropped his guard and was just standing there, sort of baiting Lombard to come take him. I think he was going to try and sucker punch him.
Yeah.
Um,
He's waiting for
but
that counter shot.
exactly.
Yeah.
But everything he kind of threw at Lombard was just kind of like the Terminator
Just
in that
walking
one.
through it. Yeah.
Exactly.
That is one thing you can say about Lombard is he's so intimidating. He just literally marches people down. He's got what is considered to be one of the best judo games in the UFC, and because he's similar, in terms of his base, he's quite short for the weight class, but incredibly wide. So he literally just marches forward. People don't really want to grapple with him because they get thrown around, and his
Yeah.
striking is super vicious. The only thing is he has. I kind of feel like he always falls a bit short of the punches. We haven't seen like a super spectacular KO from him yet. Um, there is a possibility we could see it this weekend. But
Fingers
one of
crossed.
yeah, so the fight overall, you enjoyed that fight. Was it
It
decisive?
it was a I mean it went to decision.
Yeah,
And the decision went Lombard's way.
yeah,
Um, it was it was a convincing win, I thought, for Lombard. He you know he gave out as good as he got. I mean he got hit with a good few counters, and he seemed to take them quite well.
yeah,
So it'd be interesting to see how he stands up against Magny.
yeah. So this is a bit of controversy revolving around this fight against
Mm.
Bergman. It was actually overturned. The results were overturned due to Hector Lombard testing positive for designer drugs, right? Not just like regular sort of steroids or something. This is designer steroids, right? Now I'm going to take an attempt at pronouncing this. Desoxymmelifin. Deso Deso testosterone.
Gesundheit.
A designer steroid, right? So whether he knew he was taking this or didn't know he was taking this, either way, he tested positive for it after that fight.
Let's
And
be
he,
honest. Before you continue, I don't think that's the sort of thing you're going to get in your cold and flu medicine, is it really?
I don't
Huh?
know, down the pound shop, man. I got some stuff from the pound shop the other day. I felt a bit weird the few days after. Really happy.
Such a cheapskate, man.
Yeah, I had a sore throat, so I went to pound shop. Um, you never know, man. Like if you saw that on the label of a cough medicine, would you even know what the hell that was? I'd probably start, I read the first two sections of the word and just give up. The testosterone.
All right.
Yeah,
Anyway, um, we talked about this just before coming on air, and I was bitterly disappointed. In fact, as a viewer and a fan of the sport, I felt slightly robbed
yeah,
that Lombard has been taking these naughty things.
yeah.
Quite right, he got a ban. I based on that, I kind of hope Magny tears him a new one
I think
on
we
the
should
weekend.
play a little clip here from UFC London about what Michael Bisping had to say about PED use.
This man is a cheat. This man is a fraud. And I will make you pay for your mistakes tomorrow night, my friend. All the needles in your ass, all the steroids will not help you. You pussy.
And you know what? There was actually Bisping and Lombard actually had apparently there was a bit of a standoff in a lift apparently, and Bisping called him a poison dwarf or something. Um,
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so it'd be interesting, to see. Well, Bisping's in line for a title shot now, apparently, so he's not going to fight Lombard. And I think Lombard is actually dropped a weight class now. He used to fight at 85, now he fights at 170. So,
Yeah,
but
apparently he does better at this weight. Although,
yeah, because he's quite short for 185. That's the problem. Although the weight is no, he could make the weight and be a contender in that division. It's just the reach advantage that fighters have over him. And that's an interesting thing about this fight. So let's talk about Neil Magny here, right? Neil Magny came out of one of the UFC Tough shows, which I believe you've been watching some Tough on Fight Pass, Dave.
I have, yeah. Do you know what? We were just talking about going back to the beginning and how I
Yeah.
don't do it. But for things like Tough, I've actually started watching it from day one on
Yeah.
Fight Pass. I'm about, I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes in on season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter.
So it was
Very,
Liddell
very
Couture.
weird to see. Say that again.
It was Chuck Liddell and Couture, wasn't it, coaching the two teams? Chuck
Some dude,
Liddell.
some dude with a Mr. T haircut. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Chuck Liddell. What do you think? He's a legend, man.
I
He
pity
was,
the
he was
fool. I
he
pity the
was
fool with
the
his haircut.
light heavyweight champ who was just knocking everybody out. But he was also taking a lot of punches in doing so.
Respect for that, but I'm not feeling the hairdo, man.
That was it. It's the Iceman, man. That was his style, man. The Iceman. And Randy Couture, who some people call him Captain America, because he's just a legend, really. He's really all-American wrestler, two-time weight class champion, two weight class champion in the UFC, but not simultaneously. He was a heavyweight champ and a light heavyweight champ at one point in time. Yeah. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
No, there's not much else to say at the moment. I mean, I'm probably, like I said, 2 or 3 episodes in on season 1. I'm really enjoying it. The reason I actually started watching it was because in the game UFC 2 that we're going to talk about in a little while,
Yeah.
you actually go through the Ultimate Fighter or a small, you go through an Ultimate Fighter experience in the game.
So before you get to the big show, you have to do the Ultimate Fighter show.
Exactly. It kind of piqued my interest a little bit.
Yeah.
I've heard of it before, but I've never really watched it. And now I've got Fight Pass. I've got no excuse.
There were some legends. It's going to be interesting for you because in that UFC Tough, the Ultimate Fighter 1, there was quite a lot of sort of UFC legends and veterans that came out of that show that you're going to want to keep. You're going to see them. You're going to see their names popping up who are still fighting or who are doing sort of the commentating or part of the broadcast team. So
thanks for the spoilers there, mate.
I haven't said who it is, man. Half the guys in there you never get to see again. But anyway, yeah, that's great. I mean, that show's fantastic. Neil Magny was in a newer version, one of the more recent ones, a couple of years ago, I think now. So he's had a few fights in the UFC going back. But more recently, he's had some really good wins. So basically, he beat Eric Silva, right? Eric Silva was a real prospect, man. Like this guy, crazy style, really good jiu-jitsu. He actually beat him unanimously. Then he fought Kelvin Gastelum, who actually won the Ultimate Fighter show that I think he was in as well. And he beat him split decision as well. And I think the way that he beats people is with his range, right? And that's something that Lombard suffers with. So it's going to be an interesting matchup depending on whether Lombard can get in close and initiate the grappling and get some of those heavy strikes, or whether Magny can get on the outside and just stick and move and wear him down. Did you get a chance to check out Magny's fights, any of them?
I haven't actually. It's on my to-do. It's on my to watch, should I say? Before I was just actually going to watch one today, but I've been a bit busy.
Fair enough. He's a good fighter.
On WhatGear, but yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'll probably watch a couple of his most recent fights tonight.
Yeah. So I think so let's make a prediction for this. Although you don't know much about Magny, I'm gonna say I think Magny might take a 5-round decision here because I think he's so fast and he can stick a move on the outside and get away from the grappling. He seemed to do that pretty well in the past. Lombard just likes to kind of plod forward and try and land those big strikes. I think Magny's going to be ready for that. And I don't think
Yeah.
Lombard is going to try and take it to the ground, although he probably should to stop Magny moving around. I don't see that happening. I do think,
I think Magny's going to be a stick and move character. I mean, he's got a 6-inch height advantage
yeah,
on Lombard. He's got just shy 9-inch reach advantage
yeah,
on Lombard, so he would be foolish to lock horns with this guy.
yeah.
And try and do some. Although he looks ripped, but Lombard just looks
He's a monster, and he's
ridiculous.
like Mike Tyson, isn't he, that guy?
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
so it's going to be the range that's going to come into play here. I
I
don't.
think I think the key is going to be the pace of the fight for
Yeah,
Lombard. From what I understand about him, he hasn't got too much stamina. His stamina is not the best in the world because of his size.
yeah,
Um, so if it's a slow paced fight like um, his last fight, then I think he'll do well. I think he'll eventually walk him down and catch him. And if he gets in close, I think he could be devastating.
yeah,
So my prediction: Lombard
yeah. KO.
submission in the third.
Okay, interesting, interesting. I've got a feeling. So this is my prediction. Roll the music. My prediction is, I reckon Magny's going to stick a move from the outside. He's going to jab, jab, jab. He's going to use the kicks. You know, he's got a reach advantage with his legs and with his fists. I think Lombard's going to keep stomping forward, but I don't think he's going to catch him. I think this is going to go. I think this is going to go a 5-round decision. So there we go. That's that one. Now, there are a bunch of other fights on the card, but just for the sake of time, we haven't really got enough time to go through all of them. We'll just
No.
do a couple real quick predictions here. Rawlings versus Ham. Rawlings being the native to Australia. I reckon she's going to be the fan favourite, and I think the crowd are going to spur her on to maybe get performance of the night. What do you think, Dave? Out of these two, who's going to win?
Ham.
Yeah, I'm going Rawlings on that one. Okay, so we want to talk about this really quickly because there's an English fighter on the card here. Ross Pearson, again, another fighter from the UFC. I think he was from the Tough series. I think he was in the Smashes versus or it might have been UK versus US. It was one of those where it was UK versus. He won the show. He done really well in it. He's now on the prelims, and I think that's because his record's been sort of win one, lose one kind of situation at the moment. He's coming off a loss. He's fighting Laprise, who's also coming off a loss. Dave, who's got on this?
I'm going to say Laprise.
Yeah,
What's this? A 3-round? It's going to be 3-rounder, isn't it?
yeah.
Laprise knockout in the second.
You think so? I don't know. I'm going the other side of this. I reckon Pearson's going to win this one decisively. The Priest is actually coming off a knockout loss, so he's probably a bit shaken up. And I think Pearson's probably going to watch the tape and try to recreate what happened to him before in his loss to Francisco Trinaldo. So that's my prediction for that one. Pearson, KO.
Which round?
I reckon it's going to be later on. I reckon it's going to be 3rd round.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, let's move on from Fight Night Brisbane. I know Dave has been playing EA UFC 2 on the EA Access program, right, where they give you access to it for a
That's
certain amount
right.
of time.
EA Sports UFC 2. Now there is a great. It's a genius piece of work, if I'm honest. I kind of got late into the UFC MMA game. I know you played UFC 1 quite a bit.
And the THQ one, which was a nightmare.
Well, yeah. For me, UFC 1 was a bit of a nightmare. Just a learning curve that you're presented with. But UFC 2 is it's basically all new. They've kind of reworked it from the ground up, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been very, very, very happy with what I played to date. I primarily focused my time on the career mode at present, and it's a really, really worthwhile experience. Created my own fighter. If you go
You,
on to WhatGear.net, and then check out the UFC EA Sports UFC 2 page, you can get some glimpses of a very handsome digital version of myself, even if I do say so myself. He's not quite as muscular as I am in real life, but yeah, it's a great experience. I mean, to sort of you start off the career mode, and like I said, created my fighter using EA Sports Game Face,
uh,
which is where you jump online and you take like a headshot front and a headshot side, and you upload those to their website, and then you download that into the game, and mess around with it a bit to get it looking like you again.
you know,
Um,
I think every fighter, right, should also have a nickname. So you got like Conor McGregor is the notorious Conor McGregor. You got like
yes.
Rampage Jackson, the Count Bisping. I think Dave, I've come up with a really good name for Dave's character, right? Especially
There we
after
go.
the buffet at the Ultimate Media Day where we got to meet all the
Once
fighters.
again, man, it wasn't me that was.
Well,
You were the
here's the
first one in
name.
line at a buffet.
The
Before I didn't
Croissant
even
Killer.
finish setting it out, you were there, man.
The, the Croissant Killer.
The Croissant Killer.
Yeah, so anyway, if you guys want to know a bit more about that, you can check out the videos on YouTube but at the media day. Unfortunately, I didn't catch Dave in action, but there was a free buffet and there wasn't many croissants left after Dave left. So,
Once again, you were first in line. You were the one that came back with a tower of baked goods.
anyway, so EA UFC 2 game is out now to buy, right? And we're still waiting for
It's
our
out
press
it's
copies.
it's not actually out yet.
Oh,
It's
it's
out
not.
in
So it's
it's
early
out in the US
access,
today.
right?
And it's out on St. Patrick's Day, which is actually my birthday.
Oh, I thought it was
So
out already. So it's not out yet.
no,
Okay,
it's out on the 17th in the UK.
right.
So Troy, you're feeling a little bit flush. It's my birthday in a couple of days, man.
Uh, um,
Moving
let's just
on.
wait for those press copies, man. So the game I'm really looking forward to. I played all of the last UFC games. This one, like Dave says, all been reworked. You've even got
Yes.
characters who are not actually MMA fighters. You've got Mike Tyson in there,
Yes,
um,
and Bruce Lee's in there.
Bruce Lee as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they've worked those into the game because Mike Tyson doesn't have a ground game, does he?
No,
But anyway,
I don't know. Um, I assume he's just going to have like in stats wise a week ground grappling and so on and so forth, ground game.
really strong stand-up.
Yeah, he's going to be a strong stand-up fighter for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's a new mode. I've looked at career mode. If you want to read all about that, what I got up to in the career mode, head to WhatGear.net. I'm not going to cover it all here because it would just take too long.
No, there's a
But
big article on the website.
yes.
Yeah.
The one of the other new modes is knockout mode, which is not what I thought it was going to be. Actually, I thought it was going to be more like a kind of reskin boxing type affair, but it's actually you've actually got to be very well timed in your defense and attack on this mode. Actually, it's 3 rounds, or the default is 3 rounds, and you can take 5 hits, 5 decent hits, and then that's it. Boom, knocked
He's
out.
knocked out. So it's the first
Yeah,
person to hit the other person 5 times.
exactly.
Ah,
But like I say, you can't just really go. You get a bit lucky if you go toe to toe and just start brawling. It's kind of toss of the coin who's gonna go down first sort of thing.
yeah.
So really you need to work on your defense, parry as many defensive shots as you can, and then just wait for the openings and just pow.
Right.
So it's an
Sounds
interesting mode.
interesting. Sounds
It
cool.
is interesting
One
mode.
of the things you mentioned to me, right? I keep going on about special moves, and I really believe in this, right? That every fighter should have a finishing move. They have got finishing moves in the game, and they have similar to FIFA, where you can buy
I wouldn't say
packs.
finishing moves. I wouldn't say the finishing moves. Are you talking about the Ultimate Team? No, I've not covered this on the website yet because
Okay.
I want to explore the mode a little bit more. It's quite a big mode. It's quite a big new feature of UFC franchise this year.
Yeah.
Effectively, you can create a team of up to 5 fighters,
Yeah.
and you spread those out over the different weight classes.
You can
Yeah,
unlock moves.
yeah, exactly. So you do fights and you get coins as a reward for that. You then spend those coins on unlocking fight packs, which effectively basically they're just like packs of cards. And you open a pack of cards and you get all these different random cards in it. And some of the rare cards are actually sort of special moves from real world fighters. So you could have I don't know, Conor McGregor's backspin kick as an example. That could be one of the moves, or Misha Tate's, I don't know, icing on the cake, or wherever that move was at, what actually was, I don't know. But yeah,
I told you, man. The games master's always right, man. You need to have the finishing moves. But
But
anyway,
again,
listen.
they're not finishing moves; they're special moves.
Same thing. And I asked Michael Bisping about that, and this is what he said.
Can we censor these questions? We've just been in there and laid our lives on the line. You're asking us about a goddamn video game. Come on, mate.
Once again, man, move on.
But I asked the champ, right? The champ of the UFC and former light heavyweight champ Forrest Griffin the same question, and this is what he said.
My finishing move would be the close decision, much like the Bisping.
I'll put him on the rock hold, Finish him with the rock hold.
Just let it go, man.
But anyway, listen, we better start wrapping this up. I want to say there is a chance that we might be in attendance for UFC 200, and there's already talk revolving around the event. The Notorious One might even be there, and he might be facing off against Frankie Edgar. Now, Dave doesn't know anything about Frankie Edgar, and I've been saying this guy is, he's no joke. He's going to be a super tough fight for McGregor. The great thing is Dave's got Fight Pass now, so he can go and have a look at those past fights.
Absolutely.
Edgar's been grinding it out for a long time. He's been knocking people out. He's been submitting people. He's been throwing people around. He's super, super tough. It is going to be a tough fight for McGregor. That'd be a great one for UFC 200. And also, there's talk about possibly Robbie Lawler, the new welterweight champ or current welterweight champ, versus Carlos Condit, who Dave actually got to see in person. I got to see in person against Dan Hardy back in UFC London all those years ago, when I was hyping it up, and then didn't end how we expected. But
yeah, don't worry, man. I got you great seats. It's just going to cost you £85. Way at the back.
Yeah, just shell out for the binoculars on the way in. But anyway,
Dude,
so I guess
what do we need these for?
But anyway, I guess that's it. We better wrap this up. Thanks for listening to the world's first WhatGear UFC podcast number 4. Stay tuned. Sign up to the RSS feed via the website. Sign up on iTunes. Keep an eye on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to WhatGear on YouTube. We don't only do UFC podcasts. We do technology. We do events. All this cool stuff. We did 360 videos for a while as well. We kind of gave up on that because no one was really watching them. But yeah, thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Big thanks to AV Dave out in Cambridge.
Thank you.
See you guys in the next one. Catch you later.